Next Goal Wins from Taika Waititi. It's a comedy about the ill-tempered soccer coach leading the American Samoa soccer team. This is Waititi's spin on the true story of what was once widely considered to be the world's worst soccer team. Like any biopic, it is adorned by exaggerations to make the story a bit more entertaining for the big screen. In Waititi's case, it's his campy comedy style. So in this movie, we follow the irritable coach Thomas Rongen, played by Michael Fassbender. He is given an ultimatum. Either he has to retire from coaching or go to American Samoa to whip their soccer team into shape. With coaching seemingly being what his life is revolved around, he chooses the latter. But of course, the soccer team is comprised of some of the worst athletes to ever play in competitive sports, so the job proves to be quite frustrating for him. So Fassbender was easily the best part of the movie. They leaned all the way into the whole fish out of water trope, creating a serious clash in character between Thomas and the soccer players. Thomas is way too intense, both in his dialogue and his demeanor. His scope of reality is just way bigger than the team's. He often goes right to the top shelf with his analogies, intensifying things as simple as running drills. He's also a bit regressive. For an example, one of his players, Jaya, played by Kaimana, I apologize if I'm botching that pronunciation, they are a trans character, and them being trans, of course, greatly confuses Thomas at first. Jaya proves to be one of the bigger players in the movie, but of course I should mention that the way their subplot was handled did face some backlash. I'm not gonna weigh in on that myself, but I think it's worth looking into if it's something that you think could affect your viewing experience. The team players are all very much small town people. Their scope of reality does not go far beyond their very ordinary lifestyles. So this makes Thomas's very extreme coaching methods all the more jarring. Though nothing was really laugh out loud funny, this was where pretty much all of the little laughs were for me, because Thomas pretty much feels otherworldly when you're looking at him from the perspective of his subordinates. Director Taika Waititi himself is actually in this movie too. He plays a priest who also doubles as the very underutilized narrator of the film. I say underutilized because his narrations were very far and few, and not because I think we needed more of him, because honestly, he was cringy. Like Love Guru bad. Which leads me to the bad of the film. There was just so much cringy and childish humor. For an example, the tone of the movie is set with Waititi's character speaking in this very cheesy, over-exaggerated, silly voice. Genuine question, is there anyone watching this video past the age of 25 that actually still thinks that silly voices alone are funny? I have a feeling that the answer is no. But it doesn't stop there. Despite being adults, a lot of these characters were basically written like they were children. There were times where I thought this was funny, but the way that I feel about this is the exact same way I felt about Waititi's last movie. Less is more. When you try and make every single character and every single moment into a joke, it makes them way less funny. Because of this, the movie just felt a bit tone deaf, like they just didn't have a solid idea of who their target audience was. The movie does have some mature themes, so it should be for adults, but then there's all the campy kid humor, and that kind of just confused me in the end. For much of the film, it just felt like it was lacking heart. It does pick itself up by the end with a touching climax, but that doesn't change the fact that for most of the film, I was just kind of waiting around wondering if it would be anything other than a comedy. I can't help but think that this story would have actually been better if it were told like a drama with just a little bit of comedy sprinkled over top, because the serious parts of the movie were just completely undermined by its goofy tone. In the end, it's a cliche sports movie with a splash of Waititi camp. We're all very familiar with this story where the bad sports team gets a new coach that leads them to greatness by first overcoming his own hardships. I'm really starting to think that Taika Waititi's directing style is starting to age poorly, or he just needs to turn it down or just stick to writing kids movies, because it's starting to lose its charm and just feel a bit childish. This feels upsetting to say because I think he's done some great work where the comedy was balanced out with the drama very well. Viewers that can tolerate or even enjoy the more childish humor that this movie is just flooded with will probably find it somewhere between fine and pretty good. But for me personally, I gotta say that this movie was a little bit disappointing. I've rooted for this movie where it can be rooted for and enjoyed those aspects of it, but I just can't ignore the parts of it that just made me want to vomit. It's a family film, kind of. If I'm being honest, I think this movie will do really well with preteens, and I mean that not in an insulting way. I just think that younger viewers who can at least comprehend the more mature humor will get the most out of it. But for the rest of you, I would probably skip this one unless you honestly don't mind trudging through 2 or 3 bad jokes after every decent one. Thank you for watching this review. If it brought you any value at all, please consider giving it a like. It really does help the channel grow. I'll see you later this week with my reviews of Napoleon and Dream Scenario.